Hi Ryan, how you doing? Okay, so I've got your work up here. Now, one thing I want to mention is that I don't I think that you're kind of I think you've made some decisions already, and what you're doing is you're drawing those decisions out. And I think that's a little counterintuitive, a little counterproductive in this project. Let me explain. I don't know if you had a chance to take a look at the video, but I would recommend that you look at those videos. Every week I put an introductory video over in the announcements area, and a lot of in those videos I really describe what would be the best intent for you to approach this assignment, this project, in terms of, well, the most important thing to me, which is also probably the most important thing to you, and that's pointing to your student portfolio. So what I'm trying to suggest in each of my critiques is how this is going to work with your student portfolio in terms of showing that you're a designer that can think on your feet and able to make these visual representations and encode meaning into these symbols that you're creating to represent this event. And I don't think we're really seeing that here as much as we're seeing pictorial representations of the city itself. That's why I said when I started, I said, oh, you've already made these decisions, and decisions clearly indicate that you want to depict the city. Okay. And in this sketch stage, I don't think that's enough visual research, enough visual experimentation going on. In that introduction video, I also said that, it indicates that you should submit 6 sketches as of many ideas of logos and pictograms as you can, and that doesn't make sense. So in that video I said, you know what, forget that where it says 6 sketches, and let's just submit 6 pages of sketches for your ideas, and not necessarily saying, okay, I already decided what my logo is going to be. But I just would rather think it would be more important for you to just get your sketchbook and just start sketching your ideas. Go through all of that research that you've done for phase 1, and all of those visual, visual inspiration and that you wrote about in terms of the art of the area, the indigenous peoples and their art forms, and different cultures and symbolic meanings and symbolic representations of those cultures that you can develop. And I think that we're not seeing that. I think we're seeing 6 iterations of the same idea. That's representing pictorially what you want to say about the Calgary 2022 Olympics. Okay, so you've got the city here, you've got the city here, you've got the city here, and then here you've got, and there's the city again. And then you've got depicting the event, and then the flag, the maple leaf. So, I think that honestly, let's take a look at another Calgary. This is Calgary 88, okay? So, and this right here, this designer, or this team of designers said, okay, it's Canada, so we kind of want to depict this maple leaf, but we don't want to be so obvious about it, so we're not just going to draw a maple leaf. Let's symbolize the maple leaf. So they created this symbol that can also be construed as, yes, you guessed it, a snowflake, and just a kind of a cool symbol that represents both this kind of abstract notion of the maple leaf and an abstract notion of a snowflake. Okay, so it's a real simple idea. It's put forth, quite effectively, and it's really hard to stumble on. Over here, let's take a look at Atlanta 1996. This was Summer Olympics, but nonetheless, you've got the torch. And okay, so the whole logo is based on the Olympic torch, but did the design team draw an Olympic torch? No, they represented it symbolically. How? With these different kind of shapes that turn from this into these stars. Okay, the stars, of course, are representing the United States, and of course, the rest of the logo kind of is a symbolic depiction of the Olympic torch. Okay, and we can see this time and time again in these different iterations of logos. Let me jump back here to these other Olympic logos and give you some other examples of what I consider to be fantastic logos symbolically. I'm looking for Salt Lake City 2002 is very, very interesting. And the reason I say that is because it's a symbolic representation. Here it is right here. Okay, so this is Salt Lake City, Southwest. Okay, so these designers have taken this Southwest kind of pattern that we can see over and over in art, in Southwestern art, textiles and etc. So they've created this logo based on this pattern, but it's not just a pattern. Basically, here's the bottom of it's depicting mountains, and it's also saying winter because it's blue, indicating a cold color, meaning that would be mountains. This would be sky, with a little bit of a warmer color, and they converge on each other, forming this symbol that also represents a Southwestern pattern from indigenous Southwestern art. Okay, and I think that that's really, and we can see over and over and over again that these Olympic logos are more depictions of these kind of theoretical, symbolic ideas as opposed to pictorial representations. And one of the problems I'm seeing with your representations, your pictorial representations, is that there's just too much going on. Okay, this for a logo. Okay, so when we back down off this and move back, you're not going to see all this stuff that you have. At small sizes, it's not going to be legible. Plus, another thing that you need to consider is taking a look at this. How many visual stops do we have? Okay, in this one alone, we've got the city, that's one. We've got the flag in the background, that's two, or the banner. We got Winter Olympics, that's three. We've got Calgary, that's four. Here's 5 and 6 with the little snowflakes. 2022 is 7. The Olympic rings are 8. This little caricature over here is 9. This caricature over here is 10. That's 10 visual stops. That's about 8 too many. 8 or 9 too many. You want to stop at 3 or so, because otherwise the person viewing it is becoming overwhelmed. Remember, one of the main things in logo design is to keep it memorable. So in other words, I'll bet you right now, without even going to that picture, you can describe that Salt Lake City logo that we just looked at. I'm sure you can. I'm sure you can describe it in depth. Now, can you expect somebody to look at this, okay, look at it for, I don't know, 30 seconds, 20 seconds, 10 seconds or so, then look away, and then 30 seconds later say, okay, describe that logo? They're not going to be able to do it. They're not. There's just too much going on. And I think that's an inherent problem of going of pictorial representations in your Olympic logos. Okay. The other thing I'm seeing is I am not seeing any pictogram other than what you've worked right into the logos themselves. So I would recommend that you do a couple of things. I would continue on the sketch stage. I would just continue really trying to think of ways that you can represent with a simple mark, a symbol, something very simple that is memorable and that tells the story. Here, we just time and time again, we see a bunch of wonderful examples. So go through, all I did here is I just said Olympic logos. Google image search Olympic logos, and you're going to get some fantastic ideas just by doing this simple exercise, going through, looking at these logos and saying, okay, this artist these designers are saying something. What are they saying, and how are they saying it? Okay, Montreal 76, very simple. And we see this time and time again. It's symbolic symbols, very simple, very memorable, that aren't trying to tell an entire story, but more or less just loaning themselves to the visual identity of the actual event. Okay, so those would be my recommendations. I'd like to see more sketches. I'd like to see more visual exploration. I'd like to see, I would like to definitely see you work your pictograms in here as well. Okay, so those would be my comments and recommendations. Any questions, comments at all, please let me know and I'll be glad to clarify. Okay, good job. Thanks.